Hello. Today, we will walk through the ISO 14040 Framework for Lifecycle Assessment, or LCA, with a focus on how clauses 4 through 7 translate into practical execution. ISO 14040 provides the principles and framework for conducting an LCA. It does not simply describe an environmental calculation. It sets out a structured decision support method for evaluating the potential environmental impacts of a product system across its lifecycle. The key word here is framework. ISO 14040 helps us understand how to define an LCA study, how to organize inventory data, how to assess environmental significance, how to interpret results, and how to communicate them credibly. This video is designed as a practical guide for organizations preparing to launch, govern, review, or use an LCA study. We will move from the general principles in Clause 4 through the methodological requirements in Clause 5, then into reporting and critical review under Clauses 6 and 7. By the end, the main message should be clear. A strong LCA is not only about producing impact numbers. It is about making transparent, traceable, and defensible methodological choices. For more knowledge on energy efficiency, decarbonization, and sustainability, please visit the LinkedIn page of Dr. Mohammed Tash. Clause 4 establishes the fundamental logic of life cycle assessment under ISO 14040. The first important point is that LCA is a relative approach. Results are not meaningful in isolation. They are interpreted in relation to a defined functional unit. The functional unit is the quantified performance reference that allows all inputs and outputs to be normalized and compared fairly. For example, we should not compare two packaging systems simply by mass or cost. We compare them by the same function, such as delivering 1 liter of beverage to the consumer under defined conditions. Without that shared reference, the comparison can become misleading. The second important point is that LCA is iterative. Although we often describe the 4 phases in sequence: goal and scope definition, inventory analysis, impact assessment, and interpretation. In practice, these phases inform one another continuously. Early inventory findings may reveal data gaps. Impact assessment may expose the need to revisit system boundaries. Interpretation may require sensitivity checks or refinements to assumptions. Clause 4 also emphasizes that LCA addresses potential environmental impacts. It does not predict exact environmental harm, site-specific risk, or absolute future damage. This is because LCA combines modeled data from different locations, technologies, and time periods. The core takeaway is this: comparability and credibility depend on disciplined definition of the functional unit, transparent boundaries, and recognition of uncertainty. Clause 4 gives us the conceptual foundation. It defines LCA as a structured, 4-phase, relative, and iterative methodology. It also clarifies the importance of the functional unit and the fact that LCA evaluates potential impacts. Clause 5 is the operational core. It explains how the 4 phases are carried out: goal and scope definition, lifecycle inventory analysis, lifecycle impact assessment, and interpretation. This is where the study design becomes a technical method. Clause 6 focuses on reporting. The principle here is transparency. The report must be appropriate for its audience and must explain the assumptions, methods, limitations, and value choices clearly enough for the reader to understand the basis of the conclusions. Clause 7 addresses critical review. This is the assurance mechanism. A critical review evaluates whether the study is consistent with ISO 14040 principles and methodology. For studies supporting public comparative assertions, review expectations become much stronger because the risk of misinterpretation or market impact is higher. The main point is that these clauses cannot be treated separately. Methodological choices made under Clause 5 affect what must be reported under Clause 6, and the disclosure context influences the type of critical review expected under Clause 7. A compliant LCA is therefore a connected system of method, evidence, transparency, and assurance. Clause 5.2 defines the study contract through goal and scope. This critical phase fixes the decision context, functional unit, system boundaries, and data quality expectations before any data collection begins. Clause 5.3 covers the lifecycle inventory, or LCI. This is the evidence engine where inputs, such as energy and raw materials, and outputs, like emissions and co-products, are collected and quantified relative to the functional unit. Clause 5.4 addresses the lifecycle impact assessment, LCIA. It links inventory flows to impact categories. The process involves classification, characterization, and generating an interpretation feed. Transparency is key, but limitations exist due to data resolution. Clause 5.5 focuses on interpretation, turning findings into defensible decisions. This includes assessing completeness, checking confidence, and analyzing sensitivity and consistency. The outputs include conclusions, limitations, and recommendations. Clauses 6 and 7 mandate transparent reporting and critical review. Reporting involves audience-appropriate detail. Review assesses methodological consistency. The review rigor must increase as the risk of public disclosure and comparative assertion grows. Here is an executive checklist for an ISO 14040 aligned LCA. A strong LCA is about traceable methodological choices, not just a single number, ensuring defensible environmental decisions. Thank you for watching this video on the ISO 14040 Lifecycle Assessment Framework and Execution Guide. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at the address shown.